Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of For the Most Part podcast. And I want to introduce my guest today. To my left we have Mr. Fernando Chillar. He's been on the podcast before, but now they could put
Season 1.
you could put our name to the face. And on the Zoom, we have Miss Louise Clark. I just want to check in quick with tech the Zoom being recorded, right? Brilliant. Good. Nice. So the topic for today's discussion. Now, a couple of episodes back, I believe it might have been this season, episode 2, we may have been talking about should artists own their masters and copyright and little bits and pieces of that. Yeah. Fernando is a guy here who have a lot of information on the copyright, and the man nodded his head, he said yes I do. So let's talk. So Fernando, if you could kind of break down what is copyright, what are publishers, and the differences amongst those things.
Right. All right. Cool. So welcome again, Kemi. It's always pleased to be on the show, on the podcast. I mean, things improve, and the tech crew and additions, Louise. So nice to meet you all also. Right, but
nice to meet you too.
We'll jump into the topic. I mean, basically with copyright.
Yeah.
The backbone to everything in the industry, the music industry. So copyright is basically an intellectual property right for people who created it themselves. The owners of the whatever was a literary work, visual, audio work. You are the owner of that copyright once you have put it in a tangible form. Right, and when I mean tangible, if it's an audio tangible one, if it's an audio recording, if make a demo, if it's a song you had in your head, you wrote it down on paper, the lyrics. Once it is put in tangible form, you are the owner. Right. What I'm trying to say is that, for example, all of us here right now may come up with an idea. We will discuss it, and then Louise decides to put it in a tangible form. Right. No, although all of us would have discussed it, but because she put it in a tangible form first and put it out there, she is the owner. You cannot argue an idea in court without proof.
Yeah.
Without proof.
So even if I have an idea and Louise go and write it down,
she writes it down and she
could go
says it to someone or whatever.
Yeah, she could basically go to court and say, bro, this is mine.
This is hers.
I think this, I think that.
Because you cannot prove or say, well, all 5 of us in a room and I did this part, although it may have happened, but because you did not put it down in tangible form, that is what the court will recognize. Tangible form.
So Fernando, let me ask you a question, Fernando. In terms of things that we can and cannot copyright, kind of educate the listeners a bit. So you could copyright lyrics, you could copyright on melodies, but you can't copyright things like a chord progression, an idea for like a TV show or a song. Am I correct?
Right.
Yes. For chord progressions, you can't copyright chord progressions. They're very common.
Right. So, because you have notes are all
or
about
scales.
Yeah.
Right. It's the melody, as you said, the beat. You can copyright. Again, it's putting it in a tangible form, a demo recording, a sketch, your logo. Right, that for the most part they put it out already. It is copyrighted, right? Other items that fall under, well, in terms of copyright or intellectual properties, when they're dealing with patents and trademarks with clothing logos, it's just like how she had discovered music tape, right? Those things is another form of copyright also, right? I'm trying to best explain it as best as I can. Because there's so much in copyright. But your beat, a piece of art, literary work, anything written.
This beat.
Once you put it down in a tangible form, it is copyrighted. It is automatically copyrighted. There's a misconception also that people have to register their song or register whatever it is for it to be copyrighted, whatever it is. For example, in the United States has a copyright office, but you don't have to in the United States you don't have to register your product or whatever your copyrighted your song for it to be copyrighted.
But doesn't it have to be in the public domain in order to be copyrighted?
Well, once you
Doesn't it have to be witnessed publicly?
Right. Well,
or something?
public domain now is like, again, it's self-explanatory. It's in the public domain. You have a product and you put it out there. It's already in the public domain for use in the public domain. It is still copyrighted in that if someone decides to take your logo or your product and print over the same thing as you have, you can bring them to court for copyright infringement. Because again, once you put it out firstly in tangible form, you have the file or whatever proof it is to show that I'm the first person to put this out.
Okay.
Then they cannot, well, I mean, they can, but they cannot copyright it.
So
the same
that
thing as
actually makes a little more sense to me in terms of when I go to Cuts and say, well, I want to copyright my stuff.
Right.
Basically what they're saying is your stuff has to be out there in order for them to collect the rights for it.
Right. But I mean, when you release your song, there's a process through Cut too.
Yes.
When you release your song, they want to have an example or not example, proof of it was put in the public domain in radio and that kind of stuff.
Performance or stuff, tickets or whatever.
Well, usually, as I know it, they still, in order to gain royalties or to start getting royalties from on their side, they still want to register the notification of works form with them. They need to say, look, we have a, proof that you went on an interview on 105 or whatever, and the song was released on radio. If you understand, it was released on radio.
Right.
And you submit your MP3 sample, you submit your notification of works form with all the information in terms of who are the relevant people involved in that production, and you're good to go. That's when you could start collecting royalties on it. But again, it's much more than that with the royalties aspect also, because there are a number of information in the song and the song recording that has to be put in place.
Right.
You know, or else you will not collect or will not gain royalties or get the royalties from them. Again, you have to be a member of CUT to gain royalties also. In terms of it takes you to many different avenues. Because just recently I had an interview with a guy, and well, questions he just consult. I don't want to say who it is.
No problem. But
they already have videos out, and he's a videographer.
Yeah.
And he's telling me that he did this work for so-and-so person, basically at no cost, and he did a number of videos for them. And he's saying that he would like to know how to collect his royalties. Even the artist would like to know how to collect his royalties. So first the question I asked, I said, are you affiliated with any of the local collection agencies down here, whether it's CUT, whether it's Awesome, whether it's CTCO? No. So I was like, well, he was like, they are affiliated with DistroCrid, and I think it was DistroCrid or some other
TuneCore or one of those.
Yeah, that he has an account with them, he gets money from them. But I was like telling him, okay, but that is for outside collection. If you're performing down here in Trinidad and Tobago, which the person is, which the artist is doing in bars and stuff out here, even in a concert, then who's gonna collect your local royalty in Trinidad and Tobago?
Okay.
Because an outside agency will not collect your local, you're in Trinidad living. They are not going to collect your royalties from when the sports bar pay their blanket license and their licenses to CUT.
Right.
We did mention this, that a lot of these local events, a lot of local events, FETs and all them, the CUT licenses that the DJs collect are a blanket license to cover them from having to pay you for playing the song.
Radio stations, DJ licenses, the license for, there are a number of licenses also involved in an event, and that they have to, a promoter has to pay CUT, that an artist is going to get a cut off of that money in terms of when royalties start to split and to share.
So now my question is, how, if I put out a song and we have a blanket license that protects the DJs and them to play the songs however,
right?
But I want to collect royalties for every time that a DJ plays a song in some party. We don't.
All right. So the royalty collection and license, the agreements in these things is it's not complex. It's easy enough, but there's a lot to understand. So, for example, if it is, I want to put it in an easier term. if I am to have a party right now, there's a promoter fee, there's the fee from cut that I have to pay,
Right.
to ensure that my event is legal and legit, right? And I believe also the promoter will also have to submit a flyer or a list of all the artists they will have performing at the event.
Right.
The artists themselves also in their crew or management crew also have to submit a list of all the songs that they sang at that event, as well as they have to submit every event they went to. I forget the name of the form that Cut provides.
But do they is the question.
Well, that is the
for them
artist crew to if they want to maximize collecting their revenue and their royalties, then they have to, right? Because if I am doing 10 or 15 or 20 gigs a month, and my management crew or my road manager is not seen about that aspect of it for me to say, look, when he submits the cut, we did these 20 events at these 20 places. These are the songs we did. All these things are applicable for when cut is ready to work out the royalty rate and to pay you your cut or your percentage. Right? It's so a lot of artists don't understand that. And this is not I'm talking about new artists coming out also too. It has some artists who are already in the game, and sometimes they may not even know that. They're gonna ask, well, why are not getting this or why not doing that? But there's a lot of work and background work artists must have, or they must have road managers or crews to see about these aspects of their revenue streams, right? Because it's revenue streams from performing in concert, there's revenue streams from broadcast on radio, because copyright again we had to go back now retro in that there are two, and I cannot stress this enough and explain it to a lot of people and a lot of artists who ask, and they have no idea that within your song there are two copyrights within your song. So there's the copyright of the song, SONG, and the copyright of the sound recorded. Two totally separate copyrights in a song, and those copyrights generate different types of royalties and payments.
Okay. So this is why when we were talking before, when I was gonna say, when we were talking before, songwriters get a different kind of copyright to the actual song
recorded. Right?
Yes. That's why Cohen Dubois living nice.
Right. So I'm glad you draw that reference of that point. So in Trinidad, again, I mean, our culture, basically an artist is also the producer, the artist is also the songwriter, in terms of the lyrics, and is also the performer, right?
Yeah.
Now, I just want to make it clear also that a songwriter should not be considered only a person who is writing lyrics, writing words, lyrics. A producer is also a songwriter. You build the beat, you're the songwriter. You help in the melody. The drummer in the back who would have been doing the drums
they're also part of the song.
A songwriter. Anybody who has anything to do in terms of bringing that sound into a creative, into the final product is also somewhat like a producer. Songwriter.
And then it have the avenue of the producer itself.
Yes, the producer itself. Again, people don't understand that this music business is
there's a lot of loopholes, or rather there's a lot of pockets to which you need to understand
in terms of different processes
too many pockets.
Right, and where you fit into that, or and how you'll be able to maximize revenues and for your revenues in those things. So you could decide to just be strictly a songwriter, right? And you just write songs, and you network with a producer, and the
Call
producer,
me Beyonce.
and the producer build a beat towards that song, and then you will take it to an artist.
Yeah.
And that's where the arrangements have to take place. Contract arrangements, split sheets, all these kind of things just have to take place in a production. It's a lot of work. And again, I think I keep saying that I don't think a lot of artists in our country understand that, because the norm I'm accustomed seeing is that, as I now told you, is that you just working with someone, you don't call a price, but you just say, I'll do this just so anyhow, and things being done and coming to bringing out to the
Yeah.
public domain, and no one knows who's really collecting all the money, who owns what.
So,
the song, all
so,
those kind of
so
things.
can I then reference? So remember we spoke kind of briefly on TLC
Right.
and people like Anita Baker and
Braxton.
and Tony Braxton. Rest in peace to her sister Tracy, and also Taylor Hawkins,
Rest in
who passed
peace,
recently. So in their situations where now again we just talking the general information,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
What would have caused them to now again you did mention yes contracts and
Another lacking part in the industry. Very,
Yeah.
Well, I
very,
have some background
very
info.
lacking.
you have
on
some background
TLC.
info. Okay, if
Yes,
you can
I-
share a little two piece of that information, and then we could let Fernando comment on it, and we can ask him all the questions in the world because I want to
course.
understand, you know, because if I were to
So-
sign on to a label or something, so
Right.
I need to make sure that everything is covered. The I's are dotted,
Right.
the T's are
Yeah,
crossed, the
the
P's
I's are
looking like
dotted.
P's and not D's and B's. Anyways, yes, go ahead, Louise.
So, TLC and Tony Braxton were
Mm.
signed to
LaFace.
yes, LaFace,
Records,
which
right.
is a subsidiary of Arista.
Arista,
Right.
yeah.
Now the problem with them is that they had a production deal, a management deal, and a recording. So it basically meant production rights, management responsibilities, and recording responsibilities all belong to LaFace.
Right.
Right? Both Tony Braxton and TLC either never got royalties or delayed royalty payments, and they both had to file for bankruptcy, despite the fact that their hits and their albums would have grossed millions and millions and millions of dollars.
Right.
But because of the contracts that they would have signed with LaFace, LaFace basically screwed them over by not paying them what they should have.
Well, that
So
is
even though that's
well, that is also a matter of perspective in terms of if LaFace screwed them over. But go ahead. When you finish, I will explain why.
well,
I said
this is just okay. This is just my understanding. This is just my understanding of the situation. But both of them, I believe, eventually settled in court.
Yes, Tony Braxton
And,
for sure settled in court. I distinctly
Yes,
remember
Tony,
that part.
Yeah. Tony's, and I think that didn't TLC.
We could Google and find out. There's always an answer on
Yeah,
the internet.
Right. So when you say sometimes the record company screwed them over, I just tend to say that that's not really. So let's go first in terms of what a record label is, because you remember you mentioned you asked me to ask me what is a
The
record
label and
a
the publisher.
Right.
Yeah.
So a publisher basically deals with songwriters, the people who wrote the song, right?
Okay.
Their duty, publisher, is basically the business and administration side for songwriters, right? They look for songwriters, develop their talents, and use their songs to place it, to link it to recording artists and recording labels. That is what a publisher does. They also try to place it in with ad companies and that kind of stuff, to
Right.
use the songs to make in an ad and that kind of stuff. That is what publishers do.
Yeah.
Right? Record label, they develop recording artists. They handle their business and administration side for recording artists. They develop the artists, their talent and that kind of stuff. They see about the recording aspects and everything that surrounds the recording aspects. That is what the record label does. Two different things. However, the bigger companies like Sony Publishing and Sony Records are the same company basically.
Yes.
You know, but they are massive companies, right? But that is the difference between publishers and record labels.
Right.
I just want to put in this point here for all any artists who are listening and they are confused. Cut is not a publishing company. I heard a number of artists say Cut is a publishing company. No. They just collect royalties, yes, for songwriters.
Cut is a royalty
collection agency, right? They
That's
are
it.
not a publishing company in Trinidad and Tobago.
I never assumed they were publishing ever. I
don't know. It have some people who spoken to me and like, boy, Cut is more public. Oh, do you want to sign up with Cut? No, you could sign up with Cut as a publisher. You could sign up with Cut as a publisher.
Right,
but
right.
Cut is not a publishing
Agency. Okay.
All right? Just to clarify
publisher
that.
collection.
Yes, but they are collections agency, no publishing in Cut. No publishing. You can
Right.
sign
So
up.
basically, you could
Sign up as a
publisher. So basically, what
With
you're saying is, if I write a song, I could sign up with them as a publisher, so that when
And a
that
song.
song thing,
Right.
and they would collect the
Right.
rights or the
Right.
royalties for that.
Right. Now, any songwriter is also a songwriter and a publisher.
Well, yes.
Right? There are two there's writers share and the publishers share in royalties for a songwriter, right? But the publishing aspect is more of the try to make it easier for the creative to be creative and do what they have to do. Write songs. The publishing is the administration side to get your music or your songs into to market it, to
Circulation.
make more money, to make more money, that kind of stuff. Right? So a lot of people just get confused. I know it may sound confusing, but it's pretty easy
Right.
enough to understand. But one person could also be sign up as a publisher. You know, so you get everything, all the royalties.
Right.
You know, but a publisher will ensure that. Okay, like for example, I'm a songwriter. No, I'm not a songwriter. That's it. Let's for example, I'm a songwriter, and I decide to say, look, I'm not big enough to say my name is known. As soon as I write a song, this artist will take it from me. Yeah, I'm taking this song from this guy one time because I know.
Right.
However, if I sign up with a publishing company and the weight of that publishing company, when they link it to the recording artist, they say, okay, cool, I like this stuff, you know. They will handle the pushing on the marketing of my song. So they take our administration fee for it, and they send me
So
the rest of the
companies
money.
like BMI, they are publishing
BMI is publishing
or copyright.
I'm
I
not
think
too
it's a
sure. I think
combination of both, you know.
I'm not too
I
sure.
We could find
think
out.
they are too.
I'm
But
not too sure.
Fernando, a question, please.
Yeah.
So when I did research on publishers, right, I
Right.
see that they distribute music, which you would have said, but I also see that they are allowed to license copyrighted use
Song.
of a musical work.
Yes. Well,
Some
yeah. Song.
publishers. So my next question is, platforms like Spotify, iTunes, are those platforms considered publishers?
No.
No. They're just collection.
No.
Yeah, they're just
They are not
platforms
they
for
are-
playing music.
For playing music. They have nothing to do with collecting royalties and that kind of stuff. They have nothing to do with
Yeah.
it. You know, they're just DSPs, digital service providers, or interactive radio streaming, that
So
kind
a
of stuff.
distributor is not the same as a publisher.
No. Totally different. They're
Okay.
totally different, right? So
Yeah.
again, it's been many terms, but publishers have nothing to do with distributing the music on a digital platform or nothing like that. They
Right.
dealing with
Okay.
the song aspect, the SONG aspect of it, and collecting royalties from that, right? I was trying to put that in place to answer the question with the face records and that kind of stuff. So what would have happened there, right? In terms of whatever artists have to know that when they're signing contracts with recording labels, right? They have to know the terminology. There's a lot of terminology that is in these contracts and a lot of clauses.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Yes.
it would be best that they utilize a lawyer who knows the
Yeah.
terminology and knows how to navigate those contracts, because a recording label will want to make as much money as possible from an artist, right? Because also
They'll
they are
exploit
also
them if necessary.
huh?
They'll exploit them if necessary.
Yes. No, exploit is not a bad word. It all depends on how we work out your contract. You know,
No,
it all depends. You know?
I would call it exploitation in some cases. You can't, because there are some record labels that are wonderful to their artists, and then there's some artists who, sad to say, didn't read the fine print.
Right.
And
So that's what I said is a matter of perspective, because any artist, even no matter how big you are, will want to ensure that they know their rights in their contract, and maybe even putting clauses in it that will benefit to them. You know, so what would have happened there? You know, in that case with LaFace and Tony Braxton and stuff, in that they didn't navigate, or whoever was a lawyer navigate the contract well enough to say, look, this is the best I'm getting out of it, and
Right.
the record label is not exploiting me.
Yeah.
Right? So so that's why I said it all I mean, yes, it wrong, you know, but at the same time is, look, we giving you this contract, you make sure you understand what you're signing off to, right?
Which is what you were saying earlier with regards to like the bonus. So
The advance.
so like the advance. They get $2 million US advance.
Right.
So they have to recoup that first before you get paid, basically.
Right. So again, all these things also play out in these things with recording labels, because a number of artists think, well, all right, again, the recording process is a whole different process by itself. A lot of things in it also. And a lot of artists would have gotten advances and think that, you know, well, they made it because they got an advance from a recording label. They tell you could do whatever it is with them, depending on how they give it to you, how the record label gives it to you. Either they say, right, look, you're 2 million, you fix up, you utilize whoever you want to utilize to record and that kind of stuff, you know, or they would do it on their own and set up the places for you to record and that kind of stuff, and they must get back that advance money. And all of this all depending on how well the album does. So if the album doesn't do well, you may not get little or no money remaining from that, you know. So it all depends. So again, in the contract, it all depends on the same thing again with master rights in terms of who owns what, because a recording label is an executive producer. They are putting out money.
Right.
They own, basically, in the contract, they will say, look, well, we will own the rights to your song recording for 10, 15, 20 years or whatever. But then there's, again, US law has reversion clauses where you could say, no, you could own it for 5 years after the release, and then it comes back to me. So it all depends. All right. So navigating the contract is one of the major things artists need to know and need to do to be able to be successful in the business.
Right. Wow.
So what does an artist, let's say an artist is approached by a record label, a big record label.
Right.
What should that artist go into that conference room with?
Well,
as in terms of what questions should they ask?
Quite frankly,
should they bring a lawyer
to be honest with you, let me say what I think the answer should be upfront, especially based on the conversation that we would have had prior. Walk in there with someone who can read the contract and tell you this is what they're making you sign, or this is what they would like you to sign, and if this making sense or not.
If you understand what you're signing, what you're getting into, if once
so this person would be a lawyer.
Yes, a lawyer, a music lawyer, entertainment lawyer,
entertainment
lawyer who is specific to music and understands the jargon in that field, right? Who understands that, look, you will want to have.
You don't want any and every lawyer.
No. You want a music business entertainment lawyer. You don't want a criminal case lawyer or civil remedy lawyer. No.
Just to clarify.
Yeah. No. That is perfect. An entertainment lawyer who would have some years, would have had a repertoire behind them, who would have represented a number of artists before. And they know that, look, when you go in there with that lawyer, they're gonna work the best for you, right? For your contract with that recording label. You know, even in
I'd like to just add one thing, right? I have two things to add, or I'll add one thing. So something I learned about 2 years ago was the term a Juris Doctor, which is somebody who has a PhD in law.
Right.
And when I looked at the owner of Viacom, the owners of CBS,
right,
and a lot of the other media heads, they all had what you call a JD behind their name, which means they have a doctorate in law.
Right.
And these are the people who are managing the entertainment enterprises of the world. So that what you say in there is so important, because these people understand law, they know what they're getting into. I'll throw in the other thing one time, which was we needed to get some clarity. There are the both aspects in terms of the word exploit. One is make full use of and derive benefit from. The other one is make use of in a way considered unfair or underhanded. And this is what makes Chemi's point so potent, because they both are true. Because exploitation can be beneficial and detrimental
to whoever.
But going in that room with help.
Yes,
Kemi, amen. Hallelujah.
The proper help. The proper help.
Find the person that is willing to walk in there with you and say, this not looking right, or this looking alright, or this is what you most likely will get out of it. Because I'm sure they have lawyers who will walk in there with you and be like, most likely, yeah, this looking good, but it's not actually good.
No, well, this is what I'm saying. But
some of them lawyers actually working for the company.
Company itself. No, well, again, what will happen is that if you are approached from a record label company, let's say Sony come and approach you, and being approached is also dependent on how you are as an artist. It's also dependent on how you are as an artist, because now record labels do approach like how it was long time, where it was you submit a demo and they hear it and they say, okay, cool, we could approach this person. Now the way the world is, with technology and social media, they will approach you once you have the talent and the following. Because what they're looking at is, look, we know we approach you, you have 10, 50, 20, 100,000 followers. You have already put in enough work into yourself that your product is alright, good enough for us to look at and say, let's fine tune it and put you over there. Now, if you are at that stage, then you should also be able to say, if you approach me, I'm going to put up my money to get the best legal team or the lawyer who's going to represent me, and know that when they bring this contract to you, that my lawyer looks at it and say, yes, this is working good, these 4 things are good, these other 2 things are too right, we could fine tune that, put in a clause there, whatever it is, and work it to suit for you, and everybody comes to an agreement.
So if we were to talk independent labels, is basically the same monkey pants.
The same thing, regardless of whichever label approaches you, it's the same thing. Once you sign in a recording contract or recording label, you have to make sure you get the best of what it is you're getting into, and make sure most artists also try to keep some control of their rights in their songs or their recording, whatever. Have some control of it.
So is that when a lot of artists go and they re-record the masters or re-record the original track? That's
right. You could do that. That's a getaway. That's a loophole in that. If let's say this didn't work out here, you go and re-record with another company, right? And even with that and all, also you have to be very careful, because depending on the contract you would have written we would have signed with the former company, it could end up being different,
Yeah. Wow. I think we learned quite a bit today, right? This conversation could go down a whole rabbit hole, and I wouldn't even say a rabbit hole. We go down what's the journey to the center of the earth? That movie. If you ever see that movie,
it's a lot to absorb and taking a lot of questions. It has to be broken down bit by bit.
Yeah.
Because a number of artists still don't understand how licensing works, how royalties are, what the different types of royalties you have. In your song SONG, there's the performance royalty, there's mechanical royalties, there's the microsync royalties with YouTube videos.
Yeah.
So different types of royalties in each part. The composition and the publishing part is performance, mechanical, and microsync royalties. The recording part is DSP royalties, or the data service providers, the royalties from those, and then there's recording revenues. Some people, let's say, it's still mechanical royalties, but it's not really mechanical royalties, but they sort of overlap, and different agencies collect these royalties, and it depending on who you sign up with, you could maximize on all, because again, different agencies collect different types of royalties, because we have CMOs, we have PROs, we have RAEs, rights administrator entities, there's MRAs, mechanical rights agencies, a whole heap of agencies around the world that they sign up with, they have licenses with, and collect royalties from these different companies. And artists or the artist team must know these things and maximize on it.
Well, yeah, I think that's this episode there, because the more we talk, is the more likely we'll stay here. And it's more than likely that we're going to go down a journey to the center of earth. So, Fernando, where could the people find you?
They can find me at Levels Up Music Business Academy on Instagram. And on Facebook, you can also call me at 363-8204. Right? Again, it's basic. I mean, anyone calls me, I'm willing to help them or give them direction or say, look, this is what I know, this is what you should do or think you should do. Because surprisingly enough, there are a lot of people who call and it's like, and only have videos, I mean, like videos out there on YouTube amassing thousands of vids and you don't know where to go, where to sign up for. You haven't done these basic groundwork, a lot of groundwork artists are not doing.
Wow.
No, I'm not doing. So I'm cautioning and advising artists, before you put out your stuff, make sure you know the business aspect or get in contact with someone who knows the business aspect in terms of how royalties work, split sheets, ownership, and your songs, all these things. The data, metadata, that's our next topic. So when you're registering your songs with cut and even with online platforms, that your metadata is correct, because
ISRC codes and all that.
ISRC codes, all these things affect your royalties. So it's a lot of work. Well,
ladies and gentlemen,
artists just get think up with the hype, and we have a song on radio, and that's it.
I think Fernando put a lot in perspective today. We want to thank you for making that clear, making everything clear.
Well, not everything, but most of it, at least
to
get started off with.
Yeah, ladies and gents, please don't hesitate. Was that Louise? This is just the surface scratching. Ladies and gents, that's it for this week's episode. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Fernando, thank you for joining us today.
No problem. Thanks for having me again.
Yeah, of course. And we will see y'all, and we will hear y'all on the next one. Peace.